What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, another tier list, this time emotional moments. As with the other ones, I did no prior research into this list and have no idea what's on here. So let's jump right in. First off, we got Shanks Your Arm. A good opener. The first impactful moment of the series. You know, I'm going to put it at A, because it has a strong impact, but honestly, I don't go back to it time and time again. Next up, we got Choo Choo and his owner. I find the moment that Choo Choo shares with Luffy a bit sadder than the actual backstory. So I'm going to put this as a B for now. I will never lose again. Ooh, that might have to be S tier. That's big. I'm thinking the major Straw Hat moments are going to be S tiers. Speaking of which, thanks Zeph. Also S tier. This is like one of the... Well, no, Sanji's cried a few times. This is probably one of the biggest emotional scenes we've gotten from Sanji. I think definitely deserving of S. Ooh, Bellemere getting shot. This I'm going to put at the top of A. Bellemere getting shot is... You go back to that because I think it's what, in the 40s maybe? Maybe it's in the 20s. No, I think it's in the 40s. 40s is around Arlong Park. Episode wise. This sucks because you gotta watch two kids watch their mom get shot point blank. And then one of the kids gets kidnapped by the shooter. And is basically made a slave for years. Crazy. Nami asking for help. That is going to be at the top of S tier. That is, I think this moment here specifically is one of the moments where I'm like, if not the moment where I'm like, this is kind of where you know for sure if you're going to stick with One Piece or not. You know, you can do give it 3 episodes, give it 10 episodes. And it kind of goes as far as watch what you feel like. If you're watching it and you're not feeling it, then, you know, at some point you're just going to stop watching it. If you're watching it and you're feeling it, just keep going until you stop. I think if you manage to get to this point specifically, and this point hits you in a way that you can't describe, you're going to continue watching One Piece. The Laboon backstory. B tier. I would wonder if it encompasses... No, it doesn't. Actually, I see the rest of Brook's backstory down there. So this is just strictly Laboon. B tier is fine. Dr. Hiriluk. Ooh, this is a good moment. Especially because we get... I think what makes this moment insane is the fact that we get Dalton crying over Chopper at what just happened. And how that effectively changes how he acts in Drum Island. I'm going to give that a solid A. Sakura Blossoms over Drum Island. A good moment, not Hiriluk good, but a good moment nonetheless. We're going to put that top of B for now. Ooh, the X. I think the X has to go to S tier. That is such an iconic moment. That has to go to S. Noland being executed. I can understand why some people might have this high on the list. Honestly, this might be my first C. It has emotional impact and story impact, but as far as moments I often look back to, this is not one of them. Luffy arguing with Usopp. I wonder if this includes them fighting. Let me see. I don't see anything else, so I think this would include the entire fight and the aftermath of that fight. I think this is going to be a solid A for me. This is one of those moments where tension felt like tension in One Piece, where you legit didn't know what in the world was going on right now. Like, so much was happening. Ohara burning, Robin escaping. This is going to be at the top of A. I think consistently, Robin has the saddest backstory of the Straw Hats. I would say followed by Brooke, followed by Nami. I would argue those are the top 3 saddest. I Want to Live is going to the top of S. I Want to Live is the One Piece emotional moment as of now. I think Luffy Help Me used to be top 1 until I Want to Live. I Want to Live has eclipsed that, and I honestly don't think it's been beaten yet. I don't think any moment, any singular One Piece moment has been as emotionally like just charged as I Want to Live. I Want to Live had so much packed into it. And you had the backstory before it, and then what comes after, just, oof, chef's kiss. Usopp rejoining the crew, a good moment. I'm gonna put it in B. It's touching, not as crazy as the rest of these moments. You know, you get the entire Usopp apology and then everyone kind of just crying, but it's more of a feel-good moment than it is like a emotionally impactful moment, I would say. The Death of Mary. Death of Mary is S. This is where we get the, okay, we're crying over ships now type vibe, so it's got to go in S tier. Brooke's backstory, A, right behind Robin's. Like I said before, I think this is one of the saddest backstories of the crew. And like it's hard to conceptualize how deeply sad and just terrible this backstory is, because not only do you have, you have the early stages of Brooke losing his captain, Brooke having to leave Laboon, and then you get to the stage of basically the entire crew being killed because they got poisoned. So they sing their last song and record it. Slowly but surely, everyone dies except Brooke, until eventually he goes too. But it's like the play out of they're all singing and then voices just drop and instruments drop. And you have the final 4 and Brooke's counting them down as they die. And then finally he dies too. And that's not even like all of it, because you jump forward a little bit where Brooke has the revive fruit. So he goes back to his body. He finally finds it. It's decayed, but he can take it back over. But now his ship is basically inoperable and he's stuck in the Florian Triangle. He gets stuck there for like 50 years. Now, imagine being stuck on a broken, inoperable ship in darkness, absolute darkness that you can't navigate through, with the bodies of your dead crew rolling around for 50 years. No one to talk to, nothing to do, nowhere to go. You just exist. And it gets to the point where you start either talking to the skulls of your dead friends or you start hallucinating that they're alive again. Like, that is a terrible existence. Absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. That always strikes me as a bit harder than I think what people give credit for. It's such a good backstory. It's crazy. Luffy losing to Kuma and Sabaody. This is probably going to be an A moment, probably ahead of Belmare. This moment hurt because not only have we not seen like the crew in this kind of situation before, seeing Luffy the way he was and how, especially like this moment right here where he's beating his head against the ground, just crying over everyone being lost. And I know some people like kind of figured it out that Kuma was helping back then. A lot of people didn't know. Honestly, if I look back to it, I don't think I knew at the time that it would be perfectly okay. I had figured that Kuma was a revolutionary, I think sometime in the Thriller Barkish area after the dragon mention. But at this point, I didn't know if he was like fully aligned one way or the other. I always had my doubts. Either way, this is still like emotionally impactful because of just the despair of the crew. Bon Clay sacrifice and impale down. I'm gonna put this, oh, this is a hard one. I think I will put this as the Guardian for B. For me personally, I think it's a great moment. I just don't think about it that much. Like, I just don't go back to it like I do the others. The death of Ace. Death of Ace. I'm gonna put this. For me personally, behind that, I find more sadness, and I'm actually gonna put, because I see Whitebeard, I'm gonna put him right next to it. I find more sadness in the crew being separated and Luffy being in despair in that situation a bit more than what happens here with Ace. I think Ace's death is certainly sad. The despair that Luffy goes through after the death is what really charges this moment. Not to say I didn't like Ace, but Ace wasn't like my favorite character, and I don't think I was really like invested in Ace. You know what I mean? It's hard to put into words because I know this is a really big moment for One Piece. It's just, it's not more impactful than I would say Sabaody. And I put Whitebeard's behind that because Whitebeard's death is sad, but I often see it as more epic and just insane as like a character feat of what he went through and what his last words were. Like, so sadness is one of the emotions. It's accompanied by a lot of other ones in that moment. Sabo's death, honestly, I never found that super sad to begin with. It was one of those moments where it's like, man, that really sucks. But I felt worse for Ace and Luffy than I did for Sabo. I have my crew. Touching moment, probably behind Bon Clay. I think it's good. I don't think it eclipses the other ones. Because I feel like, in my mind, I was thinking the same thing that Jinbei was, where you gotta snap out of it, man. You gotta get back to it. And we're kind of pushing this mentality of you still have people with you, bro. Like, you still good. I know it hurts, but you gotta get over it. Dadan crying about Ace. I'm gonna put this actually above Ace's death, to be honest. I felt this way more because the way Dadan felt about this entire situation, what she was doing to Garp, how this was kind of a side of her that we didn't really see. I think she put up the kind of tough guy act. We knew that she was a softer hearted person, but to see this, you see the way she reacts to the point where she openly comes down to the town, like not caring about any of that, solely caring about Ace and Luffy and how terrible Luffy must feel right now. Like that makes me sad to think about. Fisher Tiger backstory. I'm gonna put this above Sabo. Not much I want to say about that. It's a good moment, good backstory. Sad. It's sad and infuriating. But it's a very good moment. Otohime death. I think I'd put that above Fisher Tiger. When I think back to the Fishman Island arc, I think I remember Otohime's backstory and death a bit more than Fisher Tiger. Not to say one is more important than the other. I think as far as importance goes, I would say Fisher Tiger's is more important than Otohime's. But when I think about Otohime's, I think about how Shirahoshi's brothers were trying to keep Shirahoshi from going into an outburst while their mother was dying like 2 feet from them. And how they had to like dance and cheer and basically make fools of themselves, try to keep their sister from just losing it. Like just steps away from their dying mom. And just the looks on their faces, just, oh, so sad. And I really like how they do King Neptune, because one of the things I remember most from this is that Neptune being like, all right, why can't I kill the person who killed my wife? That always sticks with me. The fact that he had to lock himself away because Otohime wouldn't want him to get revenge like that. And he knows that, and that's the reason why he can't do it. But he's so filled with hate and anger that he has to lock himself up. Otherwise, he's going to do something that he think Otome would frown upon. Like that. That's such a strong moment, man. Mocha eating all the candy. Sad, but I wouldn't really say it's that crazy. Honestly, I'm gonna put this in C. It was sad. I don't really think about it that much. Even on like rewatches or reactions to Punk Hazard, this moment in particular doesn't stick out. It is what it is. Sabo's alive. This is gonna be the top of B. This was pure hype. Pure hype. Like, I don't remember feeling anything else but like excited. I was just like, they actually did it. They actually pulled it off. Sabo's back. But the levels of hype and excitement were definitely high. Scarlett's death. Put it right here. This is another one of those things where there's a very quotable moment in the backstory that I think about a lot. And it's that Hiro says that he can't feel her warmth slip away as she dies because of his plastic arms. That makes me sad. That makes me sad to think about. I think that the story around it is okay. The entire backstory, I would say, has some emotion to it. That particular moment is what makes that backstory for me. Law's backstory. Law's backstory is rough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I'm gonna put it top of B. Top of B. Because of what he went through. I think the thing with Law's backstory, I guess I would say this is specifically the white lead eradication incident, where essentially he loses his sister and the rest of his family, his mom's dad, all his friends. Basically, everyone gets killed, and he escapes through a pile of bodies. That section in particular is crazy and shapes the kind of person Law is now. And even in his backstory, like, he wasn't a super cheerful, happy kid. He was still kind of like Law, but he wasn't the Law we know now. Corazone's death, the smile and peace. I'm gonna put this here. Sad, but not like life-changing sad. Some of these other moments change the series with how much emotional impact they have. Is it Ryunosuke? Put this at the top of C. I find this moment actually incredibly funny. Which it's funny, it's cheerful. I think as far as like any other emotions, I don't feel sad or anything, but I do remember this moment when I think about Zoe. I'm gonna put that at C. Homing, crying over his sons. Honestly, D. Because it's like, this is a moment built off of Homing being naive and Celestial Dragons being terrible people. Like, it sucks to see people who don't necessarily deserve that treatment get that treatment. But when you look at the people, this is one of those situations where you look at the people and you're like, I kind of get it. I get how y'all feel. So it's not like you feel super sad for anyone here, because it's like, sure, the people are doing something terrible, but you can understand what would lead them to do that. And sure, Homing doesn't deserve it, but you can understand why people are directing that towards him and his kids. So like, as far as emotional impact, I don't know. I think this is just like, this is the way it was gonna happen. This is just like logic right here. This is just society playing itself out. Sanji's backstory as a kid, I'm gonna be honest, this might be the only Straw Hat backstory I would put at B. I'll put it at the end of A. I will give him the Straw Hat tax, but I don't think Sanji's backstory is as sad as the rest. I think it's sad. I think one of the things that kind of evens it out is that even though they treated him like garbage, Sanji still had people around him. A lot of these people don't have anyone at all. And you could even argue that having people around is worse than having no one. I would argue against that, and I would also say that Sanji had his mom, Sanji had Reiju, Sanji eventually found Zeph. So like, as a kid, he did in fact have it rough. It was sad. He was treated terribly by his dad and his brothers. There was some silver linings in those. When it comes to like Robin and Brook, they just suffered. It was just suffering for decades. Like, Sanji found Zeph pretty shortly after he left Judge. Whereas Brook suffered for literally half a century. Just half a century of suffering. And then Robin for 20 years. So it's like, I wouldn't say they're comparable. Sanji crying about pudding. Sad. I would put it. I'll put it above the reunion. Like this bums me out. I think that's about it. I think this moment right here, Sanji crying over Luffy. This is gonna go a bit higher. This is gonna go above Sabo. I don't really think about this moment too much. Honestly, I kind of forget that it happens until I watch Whole Cake and I'm like, oh yeah, this moment happened. And it's a good moment. It's just, it doesn't stick. Pedro's sacrifice. I'm real honest, D. It's a good moment for the story. I find Carrot's reaction to it at the end of Whole Cake much sadder than the actual sacrifice. The actual sacrifice is like, man, he really went out like that. And that's kind of it. Like, I don't think that more of it. Geez, they packed this thing full of Whole Cake. I want to go back to the Sunny. I'll put that above Crying Sanji. Yasue death. Yasue death is sad in particular because of how Toko reacts to it. And how she initially tries to like save him. Plus the addition of everyone having the smile fruit and not being able to properly mourn, I think is what makes that really sad. I wouldn't say it's A tier. I would say right about there. I don't know what moment this is in particular, to be honest. But I don't know any moment of Hiyori's that is especially emotional. So I'm gonna put you right down here. Oden was made to boil. I don't know if I feel emotionally charged by this. I think the moment's epic. I think it's cool. I don't think I am, because this was inevitable. This is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's gonna happen. And I wasn't like broken by it. I don't even know I was really that affected by it. It has the Oden tax, so I think B, end of B is fine. Nani mo Tiny. This is gonna go. This is a weird one. I like the moment. It touches the heartstrings because it's Nami, and because of what she's saying and the situation she's going through. I would put it above Oden. Kinemon asking Luffy for help. The anime did wonders with this scene. Anime crazy on this scene. But because I don't have a particular attachment to Kinemon or the Scabbards, I think it would probably hit around here. That's where I was going to hit. And that's the list. Of course, S is dominated by just Straw Hats. That's where they belong. I think A is pretty rounded out as well. B gives a nice average point. C and D are moments that certainly exist. As always, let me know how you feel in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Catch you in the next one. Peace.